Okay, so here's the deal. Somehow I really messed up my audio file again, and because of that, I couldn't use Holly's wonderful, crystal clear audio file either because the editing made for echoes and that kind of thing, I tried a couple times, didn't work. It's all my fault. I apologize, everybody. But you get the audio from the video that we took so that we could show you our drawing, which turned out to be kind of a disaster in its own, as you will hear or see if you're on YouTube. But we really appreciate you sticking with us all this season, and we will have our drawing in this podcast, so stick around for that. Thanks for listening.
Because you're always trying to take my books.
We're getting all of your books later, but
no, you're not.
Okay.
Prime out my cold, dead.
H Tracy 084 is the one who got that on eBay for us. So Stella continues.
Mailed to me, it would have taken less time because apparently we live close to each other. So
yeah, I could have just handed it to you, and then I'd have never seen it again. Well, that's until great. I gave away all your books. Okay,
no.
So.
Part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.
Spoiler alert, when this podcast talks about the books of his Dark Materials, it does so in the context of the most recent book. And when it talks about the television show on the BBC and HBO, it does so in the context of the most recent episode. You've been warned.
You're listening to The Dust, a His Dark Materials podcast.
Still your 29th favorite podcast covering his Dark Materials out of about 10 active podcasts covering the show. It's so fun to be back with you for this Series 2 Wrap-Up podcast where we're saying goodbye to Series 2, starting to look ahead to Series 3, although that may be a long ways off yet. My name is Double M.
Double M.
That stands for Matt Murdock, and I am always joined by my co-host on First Looks and on this Wrap-Up podcast by someone who is the sole reason that we are the 29th favorite podcast instead of the 30th favorite podcast. That's because her dad listens to the show. It's Holly.
Oh, my dad. Hey, Dad. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you guys are ready to listen to us wrap up Season 2.
We're very happy to have you here watching us on the Double P Media YouTube or to listen to us via the regular audio podcast form. We are doing a little bit more video today because we want to make sure that nobody accuses us of cheating when we announce our contest winners today, Holly. We're going to be drawing for our grand prize and our runner-up, and we'll be drawing an alternate later on today. I don't know how much of the video is actually going to make it into the actual video, but we know the drawing has to be here, and it'll be fun to see Holly try to read these little slips of paper that I have in this right here. I've got all these little slips of paper of our usernames, and I'll be drawing from that and then holding the winner up to the screen for Holly to read.
Am I even going to be able to read it, or is it going to be backwards? It's going to be mirrored?
Am I mirrored? Well, I can't. We'll just have to see if it's mirrored or not. Holly, I did want to say thank you to you for spending this Series 2 with me. It's been difficult to try and get through all of the snafus between all the scheduling differences between the UK and HBO and just our own personal lives. We've had a couple of hectic months as well on top of watching this show and enjoying this show. So thanks as always for making the time for us and for the listeners.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. I love podcasting with you, and it's really nice that we got to do this. I don't have too many people to talk about this show with, so this has been a nice ritual for me every week, and I'm really glad our listeners, cared enough to join us and come along for the ride. So thank you, Matt, and thank you, listeners, too.
So a special thank you to the listeners because our Twitter following nearly doubled this series between the time that it started and the time that it stopped. Our downloads increased by about 70%. So, we went from 10 to 17. That's really great. And thanks again.
Exciting.
Thanks for your dad for becoming listener number 17. We really appreciate that. We also really think we've been flooded all series long with people who have submitted thoughts and 3 words, everything. They voted on our polls. They left reviews on the podcast apps. It's been great. All of the people who are involved with the show, too, especially our friend at Michael VK1 on Twitter. He's been so fantastic. And he always offers stuff to the fans in terms of little tidbits because he got to make a lot of the stuff that was on the show. Of course, Mr. Balf, who was very generous to us this series with all kinds of previews of music and that. He's been very generous to us. And just the crew in general. They all interact with our tweets. Like Jane Tranter, Amir Wilson followed one of our lists, which was really wild. Ruta Gamitras has liked tweets. Sasha Frost has liked tweets. Everybody who's been involved in the show has been very, very kind to us, and we really appreciate them taking the time, not just to reach out to us, but also they do that with all of the fans. You know, it's not like we're special or anything. They really do things with all of the fans that make everybody a part of the process, which is absolutely fantastic. And you can't discount also all of the great podcasts that are out there, of which we're the 29th favorite. 4 or 5 that really come to mind for me personally are the Dark Materials podcast. I love Ian and Amy. Of course, me and you, Holly, we both love Girls Gone Canon. We love Eliana and Chloe. The girls over at Her Dark Materials, the people at Measures of Truth. Are there any other podcasts that you can think of that you listen to regularly?
I think you recapped them all for us.
Yeah, I tend to do that. I tend to take the information and I run away with it before anybody else gets a chance to answer. One other thing we should mention about Girls Gone Canon, though, is we were part of the Girls Gone Canon podcast for their Patreon members that talked about the music of His Dark Materials. We absolutely loved talking with Eliana and Chloe about that. They're sharp as a tack. I love the playlist. They put a special playlist together of things that will remind you of His Dark Materials. So if you're not a member of their Patreon, please go over and listen or consider joining. Go to patreon.com/girlsgonecanon. They cover so many more things other than just His Dark Materials as well. They're reading part of the Sandwich trilogy right now, right? The La Belle Sauvage.
They definitely have book coverages of His Dark Materials, and they also do Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire coverage. That was such an honor to be on their podcast. I've been fans of theirs for a long time and followers of them on Twitter, and I think they're just very intelligent and witty ladies that I admire. So when they asked us to join, I was shook, and I don't talk very much because I'm really nervous on the podcast, but it was a lot of fun, and I hope we get to do it again one day.
Me too. I hope we do get to talk with them again soon. And what they told me was after a while, when they have it on their Patreon, that they will release it sometime later this year to the public. And we might be able to feature it on our feed as well, which I really appreciate. They don't have to do that. I would encourage you folks not to wait. Go ahead and go to their Patreon page and pledge your support to them there. And that way you can hear it right now if you're into music discussions. Again, thanks to all of those podcasts for helping us out this time around with all of the, we've all promoted each other's podcasts and such, and it's been fantastic. I found out something interesting about the ratings on HBO, Holly, this time around, which I think that many people had considered when they were looking at the ratings for this show, but it did make us all worry as to whether we were actually going to get a Series 3 or not, and lo and behold, we are going to get a Series 3, thank goodness. We'll get the conclusion of the His Dark Materials trilogy. But there was a report in Variety just recently about how all of linear television is basically gone down quite a bit in terms of viewing, and people are turning more and more to streaming services. And one of the interesting facts out of that article was the fact that HBO saw more than half of its adults 18 to 49 in its linear audience disappear in 2020. That just about perfectly corresponds with the drop of about not quite 50% of the viewership for His Dark Materials in terms of, again, the linear ratings. We don't have access to the subscription ratings, so we don't really know. At one point, the ratings for this particular series were down to only just above 200,000. It finished strong at the finale with nearly 350,000, which was its strongest showing for the entire season. So that's good. But overall, it's still down nearly 42% from Series 1 in terms of linear television viewing. But again, I encourage you, I'll leave the link in the show notes. It's an article by Variety about how just about everybody suffered this past year in terms of linear television. And with that, I guess there's only one other thing to do, and that's kind of give maybe our final thoughts about the season, Holly, unless you have anything to say about the ratings or what have you.
No, I'm not really one to care about ratings as long as the ratings are good enough for the show to continue. That's all I really care about. So I don't, I'm enjoying the show. I want other people to too, but I don't have much to say about ratings.
All right. Well, why don't we get into just a couple of brief notes that we have on the backside of season 2 or series 2, if you prefer, where we're just kind of doing a little overview. And then we've got some other things to do, like rating the season overall. And we've got a what's worse, and we've got some favorites, what's best, maybe you might want to call them, before we get into drawing the absolute best, which is finding out who our winners are for this particular contest that we've been doing. I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in a minute. But Holly, what comes to your mind just kind of almost on the surface about Series 2 now that we've had time to let it settle in?
Well, I've been saying it, all season long. I think I enjoy the season much better than I enjoyed season 1. But I think that really stems from the fact that this is the first time that we've seen this book adapted. So we have the Golden Compass movie, which is the feature film version of season 1, basically. So season 1 was just kind of like a retelling of that, but we've never gotten to see the subtle knife before now. And I think that just made it even more exciting to watch it all unfold. So with that said, I'm really curious to see how season 3, which also has never been adapted, matches up with this season. And we also just got to meet so many more interesting characters, like John Perry, Mary Malone this season. And we got to go even deeper on some of our old favorites, like Mrs. Coulter and Lee, and even Boreal to an extent. So that's kind of my big takeaways. I really enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, and it's funny how these characters come in from the periphery and they become such an important part of the story in so many ways, and how devastating it is, because you think about Lee Scoresby. Yes, he's here all of series 2, but his interactions with Lyra basically consist over the course of 3 episodes, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're still as invested in his story as we are in Lyra and Will's story. And I was extremely satisfied with this series overall. I mean, we could all find nitpicks here and there that, we didn't necessarily agree with doing the way it was done or what have you, or maybe that we just felt like it wasn't understood well enough by people who might not have been into the books the same way that you are, or even casually the way that I am. But there was nothing that, broke the bank for anybody here. I feel like the performance of every department, all of the phases of this, from the beautiful design to all of the acting to the writing, just even the way the scenes look, just the cinematography, the lighting, the directing, the camera work, all of it was great. The editing, the way things were held so consistently. To find that continuity, I think, deserves a special attention to the editing. And, of course, the visual effects were fantastic. Maybe you could nitpick about one here or there. I did about the balloon fall. I kind of regret that now, because I feel I went back and rewatched, and I felt a little better about it after I watched it the second time. But, yeah, I think everybody should be very, very pleased with the way this series looked. And when you look at just the scope of the third book, The Amber Spyglass, that's a lot of material to cover in just 8 episodes of television. But the team seems convinced that they have the code cracked, so to speak. And so I have complete faith in Jack Thorne and in Jane Tranter that they can make it work. So we'll see how that goes from here. I would like to kind of dive in and just look at the series overall, series 2, and give a rating for this particular episode, or for this particular season, It doesn't really even have to be in terms of in relation to how you rated series 1, Holly, but just overall as a season of television viewing, how would you rate this series 2 of His Dark Materials?
I will give it 9 out of 10 double A's.
Double A's.
Awesome adaptation.
Yeah.
And I said this about the season in my last comment, but I've said this all season long too. This is how you adapt a series, book series, where the necessary changes really do feel true to the source material. A lot of these new scenes count as headcanon in my head now. Like for the book trilogy, that Mrs. Coulter and Lee Scoresby scene will live on in my mind forever as part of the official book trilogy now. Like that happened. And you were talking about nitpicks and your kind of overall thoughts. And I was thinking about it as you were talking. I'm like, I don't even have nitpicks anymore. I think episode to episode, I had my nitpicks were just like, oh, how is this going to happen if we haven't addressed this yet at all? And you know what? By the end of the series, none of that mattered to me anymore. And those nitpicks just disappeared. And again, that just comes back to they did such a great job adapting this series from the books. And I'm just blown away. I'm so happy. I'm so happy we have this show. I'm so happy Philip Pullman gets to have this series realized in such an awesome way and not really shortened by like a feature-length film and having all that stuff edited out that would be really important to us. So this is just such a huge win for everybody involved.
Excellent. I couldn't agree with you more. I, of course, always have to one-up you, Holly. So you did doubles. That means that I've got to do triples. And so I gave it 9.2 out of 10, what I like to call triple S's.
Triple S's.
Yeah, that's saddening, scary shifts. I felt like there was much of this story. Everyone is going through such changes in the series, and in a much more pronounced way than possibly in series 1, with the exception of the loss of Roger. There's a lot more loss in this season. There's revelations to very scary pasts when you think about Lee or Mrs. Coulter. There's shifts in power at the magisterium with MacPhail coming. There's shifts in Mrs. Coulter and the way that we look at her. There's just watching Will and Lyra kind of grow up before our eyes throughout the course of the series. There's this shift to the larger picture when you get to the end with Azrael talking to the angels and how Mary Malone interacted with the angels. All of that stuff making everything shift your focus from where it was just a story about a little girl or maybe a little girl and a little boy to something so much larger. And I appreciate the groundwork that they did for series 1 or within series 1. But series 2 really expanded the universe, and it didn't do so at the cost of character. There was so much in the way everything about the show grew, and especially in the way that our characters grew and how more invested we became in them. So I thought that was all done extremely well. That's a lot to say just for a 9.2 rather than maybe a 9.9 rating, but I believe that it's all warranted, and I loved the fact that we get to continue to see this series play out on our television screens.
I don't even mind that you one-upped me just now because that was a really great review, and I agree 100% with everything you said. So
yeah, that part's not making the video. Anyway, so it's time to decide what could be possibly worse, because this is Holly's favorite game. I had to bring it back one more time just to bug her. Holly's father, I know you're listening to this. I torment your daughter. I'm going to say right now to Holly, I apologize, Holly. I am so sorry for tormenting you the way I do. I know I'm just a sick old white guy, and you have no business probably even spending any time even talking with me about this show. But I appreciate the fact that you tolerate me being so torturous as to offer one last what's worse. And here we go. What's worse, Holly? You should get this one because the poll results are tagged right below. But what's worse, this season, series 2 being over, or the wait until next series comes back, series 3?
It's the wait, of course. It's the wait. I mean, I'm sad that it's over. The saddest part about it being over is that we didn't get that episode that was missing. And I'm sorry to keep complaining about this, but man, I do wish we would have gotten it. Stupid pandemic. Why? But yeah, but really the wait for season 3 is just going to be very long. And I think when we were recording our wrap-up episode for last season, they were already filming season 2, and they haven't started yet, so it's just going to be a while. And I've been waiting since 2015 when they announced it, and I lived in a completely different city and had a different life, and they said they were making the show, and that was a really long wait from then until now. And this is going to feel like just another long wait like that. The wait is awful. It's the worst.
The wait is awful, and you say it's worse. You're completely wrong, because this is the last remnants we have to hold on to through that wait. And now we don't have any more of that to grasp onto anymore. People have picked it apart and put it back together and picked it apart again and put it back together so many times, many of them so much better than I ever possibly could, that and we've still got months before filming can even begin. So there's nothing left to hold on to for me, Holly. I mean,
nothing left to hold on to. There's episodes that you can rewatch. Hold on to those. They're out there. You can watch them every day.
I think that you just trumped me with that argument. Let's check our poll. I took this poll, a 24-hour poll over the weekend, asking that exact same question. And it appears that Holly beats me. A record number of votes, by the way. 4,900 votes on the 100 Twitter. And when you have 4,900 votes on the 100 Twitter, you better listen. And they all agree, almost all agree, with Holly. 87.8% agree with Holly that waiting for season 3 is worse. I'm trumped again. Quite literally, trumped again. I want to flip this after such a resounding loss. I really want to flip this because I feel like I won that poll by a lot, actually. But I want to flip this and let's turn it to something completely different. What's best? And Holly and I are going to go through some of our favorites for scene, for episode, for character, and for acting performance. And we also put it out to you guys on the Twitter over the course of the weekend and got lots of responses. We'll go through those. And then I promise we'll get to the contest. I really do have things to give away. I really do. Well, we might have to do feedback before we get to the contest. Well, we'll figure it out. But here we go.
Quit being a tease, Matt.
You know what? I should have just said at the beginning of this podcast, we might drop the contest in anywhere so that people would have to listen to all of it. It would be the first time they'd ever listen to me without turning a podcast off, ever.
Sure.
So that's so fantastic. I should have done it that way. Catfish convinced me to do that for the Shugga Surprise podcast when we covered Lovecraft Country. And then he threw it in, like, right in the middle of our recap. And then, I figured people stopped listening to me after that. So figure on this to be the contest to be at the end. But don't go to the end. Stay here because you're going to want to hear Holly's favorite of all of these things that I'm about to ask her. And we're just going to go kind of rip through these because we want to get to yours, because who cares what we think? We always care what you think. And Holly, what was your favorite scene of series 2?
So I'll just say up front, Matt got to the notes before I did. So he actually picked a lot of my favorites. So I picked different ones. So Matt, you actually stole my favorite, but
I'm always doing something wrong.
But this actually might be my favorite. It's Lee's last stand from the last episode. It was so emotional for me. Just him and Hester's interactions was really moving, really heartbreaking. Watching Hester struggle to move because they're injured, everything in their conversation. I was bawling. I said this on our last episode, how much I cried. I think I cried talking about it on the last podcast, but because of all of those emotions, this is my favorite scene. Lee did his duty and he died with honor, doing what he promised he would do, which is to protect Lyra, the best father she's never had. And man, I'm really, really gonna miss Lin-Manuel's portrayal of Lee. I know he's not the most popular. I think a lot of people have come around to him.
Yeah.
I've been on board with him since day one. I mean, admittedly, I am biased because I am a big fan of his, but I still bought into it right away from his first episode in season 1. I loved it. I loved his character. I loved his performance. It felt really good and really right for me. And I think he went out like a boss. And so that is why this is my favorite scene of the series.
I think that's an excellent choice. I would not have mentioned the whole idea of you were involved with him from the first scene of his first episode in the series, simply because it was singing. I wasn't all into Lynn singing so much. I know
that's exactly why I'm biased, Matt.
Yes, you were looking for him to do a Hamilton performance. You were looking for him to be somebody right there on a balloon. But nonetheless, I feel like I can't escape Lee anyway, because he's also part of my favorite scene, and that was from the encounter with him and Mrs. Coulter from the Series 2, Episode 3, Theft. I don't think I expected at all to look at those two characters any differently than I already did going into that episode. And I'm forever changed because of that scene. And not only was it just beautifully done between the two actors, but such amazing writing for that scene. And also just even Balf's score was just so fantastic. I still, all of the different emotions that the Mrs. Coulter chords go through in that scene. And very little Lee. There was a little bit of Lee at the end after she freed him in the second scene. But in that first scene, which is my absolute favorite, it was all about Mrs. Coulter, and deservedly so. That doesn't take away from the fact that if it hadn't been for Lee and Lin-Manuel's performance of that, that gave Ruth Wilson something to work with and really make that scene, and for the both of them to give the director such great stuff to work with, coming off of already a fantastic script page. So that was my favorite scene. Let's move on to favorite episode. I'm going to go all magisterium on you this time. I'm going to be the magisterium and go first. My favorite episode for this particular Series 2 was The Scholar, because while we had that one great scene in Theft, episode 5, The Scholar gave us so much throughout the entire episode. Ruth Wilson's performance of Mrs. Coulter, and just the changes that she goes through, finding out what another world is like and how different her life could have been. Great action sequences in the Theft itself. And then cuteness too. I mean, the whole idea of Will learning to use the knife again because Lyra's tutoring a little bit, and they cut a hole in the window and they're going, "Is that your world? Why are we whispering?" I mean, it was just beautifully done from beginning to end. There was nothing, just absolutely nothing that I could possibly do to better that episode for me. How about you, Holly?
Because it has my favorite scene. I think your episode that you chose was my second highest rated episode, and I think my highest rated episode was the last episode, Asa Hetra. Again, it has Lee's last stand in it, but we also get Will finally finding and meeting his dad, and that whole sad bit too. Oh my God, that's just so much emotion, and then just really great stuff with Will and Lyra, and Azriel's speech at the end. I think just kind of all of it kind of coming together at the end. And I think this is my favorite episode, and it just makes me look forward to season 3 so much more. So I think that's what I'm going to go with for my favorite.
That sounds great to me. You've been fixating on Lee quite a bit and on Lin-Manuel Miranda quite a bit. Any chance that there's a change for this when we go to our favorite character?
Well, because you got to the notes first. No. I put something different just to be different, but he definitely, yeah, I mean, he's up there. Some of these were really hard choices to make.
Oh, just say the words. Say the words that you want to say.
No,
Just say them.
I'm going to say my favorite character of this season. If y'all been listening all season, then you'll probably can guess this anyway. It's going to be John Perry because hot shaman, y'all. That's it's silly, but I was very much looking forward to Andrew Scott's portrayal of John Perry. He really did not disappoint. I'm going to put him as my favorite just because I've been so excited for him all season long. I really think he did a great job. I can't imagine anybody else playing the role now. And I'm sad that he's gone and we won't get to see him again. So I know it was a lot of buildup for me all season for just like a few little scenes here and there, but it worked really well for me. And I thought his character, the mystery of his character added a lot of just cool things to the show. And good stuff for Lee and Lynn to play off of, and a lot of emotional drive for Will and what he's going to have to do going forward and how he's going to make his choices because of his conversation with his father at the end there.
Yeah.
But Hot Shaman, come on, y'all. Hot Shaman. He gets
it is tough to dispute somebody who can, summon up some matches from their jacket. Absolutely. But you say hot shaman, I say hot Charmin because I think that's poo-poo. I think it's his counterpart.
Oh, no.
That Lee Scoresby is the favorite for me this particular season. I mean, what a journey. And again, it points back to a lot of my other favorites for this particular season. The scene with Mrs. Coulter and realizing that Lee had gone through all of that as well. Not in the same way that Mrs. Coulter had, but had gone through an experience that was very hurtful when he was young. That made his sacrifice seem so much more poignant to me at the end. Also, just the courage to choose that. If I have a choice to choose between life and death, I ain't making that choice of death. No way am I making that choice of death. First of all, I don't have enough confidence in my abilities of shooting like Lee does. Second of all, what a courageous thing out of love for a little girl who, again, very economically, I felt like they demonstrated the love that he developed for her, but it had to be done economically because he had so little interaction with her. But I agree with you when you said that you were sold on Lynn from the very beginning. Well, maybe I wasn't exactly at first. He certainly sold me on his role in series 2. For sure. Everything seemed so well done by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And if it weren't for those performances, I don't know that Lee would have come out of this series being my favorite character for the series. So hats off to his performance. And speaking of acting performance, let's go with our favorite acting performance overall. And should I magisterium myself here first, or should I let you go first?
Please go first. No, you go first, please.
Oh, well, I'm going to say the obvious because I am Captain Obvious. I mean, it's quite typical of me to be the person that just blurts out what everybody else is thinking and act like it was my own idea. Ruth Wilson is definitely my favorite acting just throughout the whole course of this series. But some highlights for me, again, that scene with Lynn in the theft episode. A lot of her scenes with Boreal throughout the course of the later half of this season, not just little things like, and I know it's in the writing too, but just the way that those were portrayed, like her holding that thing that Boreal held so dear and just letting it drop, and the expression on her face and the expression on his face, it was just magical to me. And of course the interactions with Lyra and the way she portrayed, resisting the urge to have the monkey fight back, but still being able to separate herself from the pain that the monkey was going through as Lyra was basically, doing Daphne's portrayal of the Wolverine it was beautifully done by that. And even the one I think that made it the linchpin for me is probably not the most likely one that people would point to, but her monologue to Boreal at the end as he was dying, that was incredible, and even the hand holding over the candle later on in that episode, all of that just so beautifully done. I don't see how anybody could nominate anybody besides Ruth Wilson. Yet, Holly, have you managed to?
Yeah, I did, because once again, you got to the notes, and we all know Ruth Wilson is just regardless of who got to the notes first. Ruth Wilson is the obvious choice. It's annoying how good she is. I really, I love her, but I'm starting to hate how much I love her and how we can't stop talking about how good she is every episode. God, it's incredible. Oh my God, I'm gonna be going back and watching more of her other work probably while I wait for season 3, because I've still never seen Luther. Because I know, I should have watched Luther by now. What have I been waiting on? Shame on me. And I did watch a few seasons of The Affair, which was very good, but I fell off of it for some reason. I think Lin-Manuel would have been a second choice, but my choice here, I'm going to give it to Simone Kirby for her portrayal of Mary Malone. I thought she did a wonderful job, and I'm really intrigued by her character, and I can't wait to see more of her. I like the extra background they gave her too, with like the conversations with her sister, just to kind of round her out some more versus, the Mary Malone we know in the books. But I just love her. Like, she's just delightful to watch. And after any interaction with anybody, whether it's Lyra or Mrs. Coulter or Angelica, and just how she stays so calm and nice and pure and sweet. I loved Simone Kirby's performance. So I'm going to go with her. But I got to give honorable mention to both Amir and Daphne working together. I really appreciated all their scenes together. I thought they really did have good chemistry. And there's so many of their scenes were just so cute, like the movie theater scene, the bench scene, everything. They're high, they're what do you call them, the scary cliff top scenes where you're like, what are y'all doing up there? But I don't know, all of their interactions were just really good, and really I thought they did a really great job of both, trying to act like kids and kids that are growing up. I think that's a really hard line. I would imagine that'd be a very fine line to walk as an actor, and in even being in that age and trying to understand both adult things while still being, somewhat of a child yourself. That's got to be really incredibly difficult to do, and they deserve some love for that.
I totally agree with that. They did get, as far as their chemistry goes, they think they said in a couple of interviews that they actually specifically hung out, just to kind of develop that chemistry, which I thought was an interesting method. And as far as Simone Kirby goes, I mean, anybody that can get Paula to hug him, who otherwise just wants to shove a stick down your throat, I feel like that's a pretty good choice there, Holly. I like it.
And just pull berries off of trees and eat them without washing
berries.
them. Yeah.
And she'd be the one to push Amir and Daphne off of that horribly high cliff that I'm so scared of in that episode, if she were around to do so. Bella Ramsey should get an honorable mention as well, just for that one scene. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. She's so good. Oh man. Yes.
Yeah. How about the listeners? Well, we got several replies back. I asked people to give their favorites, and here is at BirdNut95 says Alethiometer Heist was their favorite scene. Excellent. Episode 5, The Scholar, their favorite episode. Mary Malone. Boy, Birdnut seems to have similar tastes to you here, Holly, and me. And but Mary Malone was character, and then Amir Wilson as their favorite acting performance. Obviously, Ruth Wilson. Obviously, Ruth Wilson is a powerhouse in every scene she's in, and she'll always be a joy to watch. But Amir was amazing this series and made me cry multiple times. This guy is going places. Yeah,
I agree. Oh my God, he's good. Yes, he's gonna be such a nice young man. I can tell.
Cassidy, thank you so much for those. Ringwraith100 gets to us. That's at Wraiths of Dust on Twitter. Either the Lee Mrs. Coulter scene in episode 3 or the Lyra Coulter, quote, reunion during the heist. Excellent.
Oh, so good. Yes.
The favorite episode for Ringwraith100 was Finale. It just hits different. That it does. Favorite character, Lee. It has always been Lee and Hester. And with the favorite acting performance, I'm also the Ringwraith100 says I'm going with Amir Wilson and Simone Kirby. Amir is doing great, and Simone is perfect for the role. Holly, have you been on Twitter, like influencing people or whatever? Because they're all coming up with a lot of similar things to you.
And it's really weird. My life has been kind of crazy the last few weeks, and I actually haven't even been on Twitter. I turn my notifications off, and I just kind of pop on and check them like at least once or twice a day. So no, I'm not. This is just weird. It's
Well,
weird.
check this out. Check this out. Alex AB189. That's Alex. Thanks so much for putting these in. The heist. I felt so tense and was on the edge of my seat the entire time as far as the scene. You sure you didn't influence this person, Holly? Episode 7, Asa Hetra is their favorite episode. That seems really weird. Well, okay. Here's one for me. Lee Scoresby or Mrs. Coulter as the favorite character. But then again, here we go. Once again, backing Holly. Amir Wilson or Ruth Wilson, any of the Wilsons, they were both born for their roles in his Dark Materials and gave it their all in every scene they did across the entire season. Excellent choices. Stella ESM on Twitter, that's Stella Esmeralda C, says, angels communicate through the cave with Mary for the first and last time. Favorite episode? Holly. The last one, Asa Hetra, once again wins that category. I think I think you've bribed these people, telling them that you're going to give them all your books if they vote the same way that you do. Here's an interesting choice for favorite character, Serafina.
All right.
Yeah, I like that one. Favorite actor is Ruth Wilson playing Mrs. Coulter, and especially that performance of being jealous to see free women throughout the Scholar episode. Excellent choices. I like the Serafina choice. There was just those couple moments in Asa Hetra where you saw things really fall apart for Serafina, and those shots were magnificently done, and that actress, Ruta Gamitrus, did really, really good with those scenes where she heard Lee's calling out through the cloud pine, and then Lyra gave her permission to leave. That was all really good. And then the way she spent time with Lee after she found him, and even just the flying off to wherever she's flying off to, that was just really good stuff. So good choices there, Stella. We really appreciate those. Oh, here's a name that we're familiar with. It's Low_the_links on Twitter. They submitted some Twitter feedback for us in regards to this as well. You can hear Low a lot on the Girls Gone Canon podcast, right? They did an episode or two covering this series with them. So thank you so much, Lo, for your submitting your thoughts here. The favorite scene, we're helping Lyra. I can't do a Hester. I'm sorry. I'm terrible at the Hester impersonations, Lo. So forgive that. But the scene where Hester was giving last reassurance to Lee in their final moments. Oh, that's a tough one. Episode 2, The Cave, and Lo says that episode 6 was a close second. Those are different ones. Those are excellent choices. Right. Yeah.
I like it.
Holly, have you been talking to Lo? Because they think that Mary is their favorite character. I know that you chose John Perry, but you also chose Simone as your favorite actress. So I think there's some collusion there, as usual. And speaking of which, I know that Lo colluded with me because I specifically paid them to say, it's got to be Ruth Wilson. She's just spectacular. That's what Lo said. Check is in the mail, Lo. It is in the mail.
Where is my check, Matthew? I've been the one recording with you all of these weeks. Where is my check?
Well, you have to go to our bosses. That's Bubba and Catfish at the Double P Network, and you will get a statement this month. It will be asking you to pitch in your share of the losses for that podcasting network this year.
Oh my God, no!
Bubba has built an empire on his YouTube and built a new house with it, and we're not seeing any of it. That's just the way that goes. So
Bubba just needs to buy me dinner. He doesn't even have to pay me.
Okay. Bubba needs to buy you dinner, and I need to figure out what my credit card is at so that I can pay you. Okay. So at Tails183 says, the Lyra versus Mrs. Coulter heist scene, or the last montage in the Esahetra episode. Excellent choices. Favorite episode, episode 5, The Scholar. Favorite characters, either Marissa or Mary. And here's another one where they kind of chimed in with you and your darn Amir Wilson stuff. Amir Wilson interaction with his dad was spectacular. All right. Thank you so much.
I think you're forgetting Amir was my number 2. Mary was my number 1 on that question.
Yeah, but
Amir
nobody would
was
even
my
have
number
mentioned
2.
Amir if it hadn't been for you. It's all your fault.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the way that goes. Our friend, and he is what we like to call a double L.
A double L?
A loyal listener to the Double P Podcast Network.
I'm one of those too.
You are too. That's why you don't get paid. The Hedge Knight, who is at Dudson Warren on Twitter. I've known the Hedge Knight for a long, long time. Thank you so much for chiming in. Favorite scene, Pan telling Will how brave Lyra thinks he is. Oh, that seems like gay. That's so good. That is so good. Hedge Knight. Favorite episode, I'm not sure what number, but the one where we meet Mary or Simone. That was The Cave, episode 2. Excellent choice there, too. Favorite character, she may be knackered, but all the love for Mary. At Dudson Warren, I think that you're starting to show us that you love Mary more than you love anybody else in this series.
And what's wrong with that?
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
Qualify that because otherwise Holly would be throwing books at her computer, and we don't want her to hurt the computer just because she's trying to hurt me.
Or my books, so you can give them away.
Or your books, because I've got to give those away later on. But as far as the favorite acting performance, Ruth and Daphne were well established from Series 1. So for Series 2, I'd vote Simone Kirby with an honorable mention to Ariane Bakari for somehow making Boreal palatable while adding countless layers of sleaze.
Ooh,
Excellent
I like that.
choices.
I really like that. Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, the Hedge Knight. Again, a double L, a loyal listener. Narissa Suku, that's at Narissa_Suku, says, this is an easy question. Ha ha ha. And then adds, the alethiometer heist was their favorite scene. The Scholar was their favorite episode. Mrs. Coulter is the favorite character for many reasons, with a big old heart emoji. And, of course, because I paid Narissa to say this, Ruth Wilson is the favorite actress. Her character's ability to control specters to her will. See, Holly, the thing is I can't pay you because I need your opinion to be unbiased. Whereas people like Narissa, I have to pay because I need some support for my outlandish ideas.
Okay, sure.
Not that
whatever you got to tell yourself.
Whatever, not that saying Ruth Wilson is a fabulous actress is something that really needs all that much solicited support. But at any rate, I always like to make sure that my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed.
In seriousness, though, like in all seriousness, she has to win awards this year for this role. Like she has to. If not, I will break stuff, and that's that.
But not your books, right?
I might break my books. I might break my books.
Oh boy. Listeners, will readjust the contest here shortly. Ringo, who is at the Platinum Hat, love that Twitter name, says Lyra communicating with Dust in the cave was their favorite scene. Excellent. Yes. The cave was their favorite episode. Excellent. Mary Malone, I love her so much as a favorite character. And the exchange between Mrs. Coulter and Lee Scoresby in the jail was absolutely fantastic. I thought Ruth Wilson and Lin-Manuel Miranda did a marvelous job. Thank you so much. Platt in the Hat on Twitter. Keep that Twitter name forever. We have a friend who has offered to contribute in place of Holly's books now that she's thrown them all across the room in protest of BAFTA nominations. Holly, not our Holly, but a Holly at HTracy084 actually sent a DM as I'm recording this the day of, saying that a special anniversary edition of The Subtle Knife was on my way that she had found on eBay, and to be sure and inspect it for its condition. So if it's in good condition, we might add that to our grand prize. or because I haven't paid our Holly yet, maybe I'll just give it to her. We haven't figured that out quite yet. But as soon as I go out to the mailbox and see if it's actually come and I'm able to expect it, I'll let you guys know by the end of this particular podcast. The mail doesn't come here normally till late in the afternoon. Not quite yet, evidently, but if I look at my clock. But Holly, at HTracy084, who we love, is also expresses concern for us making her make these choices. Oi! She says, I'm sure that many people were thinking that when I put this out there. But Lee and Mrs. Coulter's meeting, excellent. You did well. I paid you well there, Holly. The Scholar as their favorite episode, excellent. Once again, you were paid well, obviously. Favorite character, still Mrs. Coulter. Well, I guess 3 out of 4 ain't bad because favorite acting performance, Ruth Wilson, period. Thank you very much, Holly, for those submissions.
It's a not wrong submission at all. It's 100% correct.
Excellent submissions, except for number 3, which should not be Mrs. Coulter. It should instead be Lee Scoresby. So, Jonathan, who is at Dragonfell UK, one of our favorites, who we will also have just a little bit of book reader feedback to go through at the end of this podcast regarding something that he's been bringing up to us all season long, and we'll give Holly a final chance to digest what he has to say on that, because she is our book expert, our Holly. So with so many Hollies flying around, I have to make sure that I'm saying that I love the proper Holly at the proper time. So at Dragonfell UK says that their favorite scene was the heist, especially Lyra and Mrs. Coulter. That seems to be a highlight of everybody's. The Scholar as favorite episode. Right on. Team Bro at Dragonfell UK. Favorite character, Lyra. Nice. Love
Very
that.
nice.
And favorite acting performance, Daphne.
Yes.
Whilst outshone at times, yes, I'm looking at Ruth Wilson's incredible Mrs. Coulter. There is so much nuance in her portrayal of Lyra. Love it.
I agree, and we probably did not spend enough time talking about Daphne this whole entire season, but he's right. Jonathan is absolutely right. She has been doing a really, really great job with this character, and it is unfortunate that I don't want to say overshadowed, because it feels bad to say that, but there's just so many, everybody in the show has been really incredible. And I think because maybe we just take it for granted because this is about Lyra, so we want to talk about the other people just surrounding her, but man, she really is killing it. Such a delight to watch.
At Harris Ally, who is underscore, who is the bearer, what a great name, says their favorite scene was Lyra and Will's alethiometer heist. Favorite episode was Asa Hetra, the 7th episode. Favorite character, the bearer. Obviously, can't imagine that coming from the bearer. And now, this is one that I love. As far as favorite acting performance, stuck between Paula, who I was 100% sure is like 9, but played by a 17-year-old Ella Sherry Yates.
I did not know that. Oh my God, my mind is blown.
Yeah, she did a really, really good job, didn't she? That's great.
I don't think I would have guessed 9. I would have said maybe 14, like at the oldest, and can just play young. But wow, 17, man.
I agree. It was a great acting performance, but it did get eclipsed to me by your other choice, which was Bella Ramsey's Angelica when Tulio died, as far as a favorite scene. And we mentioned that earlier, but you're absolutely right. That was an amazing scene all on its own, for sure.
I think I want to change my answer now to Bella Ramsey for favorite acting moment, because that was so good. And I gushed about it on the podcast when we covered the episode, and I just, for some reason, forgot about it when thinking about it for this episode.
And I have been trying to avoid the subject of Bella Ramsey ever since the first episode that we covered for this series with my tough girl comments. Because I really ate it with that particular scene. And it was...
You sure did.
But I got it back with the sixth episode with the Here's Angelica moment. Here's Angelica.
Oh god, that was
Loved that.
so scary. No, I mean that also deserves
Tough though.
that also deserves to be up in here. That moment too. It was scary. I didn't know his Dark Materials could do horror, and they did in that moment. It was great.
It was fantastic. At Sharir, I guess is how you say that. I don't know. But it's Mary. Thank you so much for submitting, Mary. The favorite scene was Mary and Melissa meeting because I definitely wasn't expecting that. Plus the whole trying to recover the alethiometer sequence, basically EP5 as a whole. And of course, favorite episode 5, The Scholar. Favorite character, Mary Malone. That's not John Perry, but close in some kind of relation. And the favorite acting performance, Ruth Wilson, her face acting. Oh my God. And that nothing could be said better than that, I don't think. At Spawn of Oz gave us theirs. And I love this as a choice for a favorite scene. Going to the movies to go see Paddington. What a great scene that was. With the popcorn and then peeking his head out of the bag. The origin of the subtle knife was another favorite scene, which was one of your least favorite.
Oh yeah, I did not like it.
But favorite episode was Tower of the Angels, episode 4, with the runner-up being Asa Hetra. And as far as favorite character, Will, with a runner-up of Lyra. And favorite acting performance, Ruth Wilson, with a runner-up of Amir Wilson. The Wilsons are just taking over the world. That's what we can from all of this. Thank you all so much for your submissions of those. We loved going through them. Got a little more feedback. We have to go to our YouTube feedback, which we haven't really addressed a whole lot. I've done a little bit in the Second Look podcast, Holly. Then I realized, wait a minute, Second Look podcasts don't go up on the Double P Media YouTube. Only the First Look podcasts go. So I'm kind of catching up here a little bit with someone who I like to call Double Null Test Channel.
Double Null Test Channel.
Yeah, that's Null Test Channel, Null Test Channel. That video of her slapping her forehead should stay in the Double P Media video. By the way, folks, if you want to catch our videos, you need to check out the Double P family of podcasts. Do so by going to Twitter and following at the word double, the letters PHQ. Or you can find them the same way on Instagram, or go to facebook.com/the word double, the letters PHQ. If you want to find our videos on their YouTube channel, go to YouTube and search for the word double, the letter P, media, and our videos are all there. Or there's a little bit of a shortcut. You can go to youtube.com/user/what, Holly?
FITTENTRIM.
So, Null Test Channel offered a couple of things of feedback. This one was in response to episode 205. Lyra and Will can break in anywhere. And where do they break into? Boreal's house? Come on. The crown jewels are just sitting in the Tower of London waiting to be claimed. No base purposes, Null Test Channel.
Also, John Perry, when he was being Moriarty, also did that, but he did it to, we know he's going to, if you do that, you're going to get caught. And that's the only reason you want to try to steal the crown jewels, right? Right, Matthew?
It's purposefully to get caught, which is not something that Lyra and Will wanted, even though they kind of did. They got away, but they kind of did get caught. So I guess alethiometer, crown jewels, it's all here or there.
Oh my God! Okay, speaking of Andrew Scott and crown jewels, the Funko. I do have a Funko Pop of Moriarty with the crown jewels on. So I
which
own
she is giving away for our contest in just. I
own like 7 Funkos, and that is one of them. It's the only. No, I have Mycroft too. I don't have Sherlock, but I have Mycroft and I have Moriarty with the crown jewels on, and those are my only 2 Sherlock Funkos I have. So, fun fact.
And both of them can be yours just shortly in our contest.
Man, I'll give you my Mycroft, but you're not taking my Moriarty.
I like the Mycroft one. I think that
He's cool. He's got a cane and he's like leaning on it. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Double Nil Test Channel says to us in response to episode 206, Mrs. Coulter is the Spectre. Dun, dun. She is kind of a Spectre in a way, and sometimes.
She really is. Dang, that was insightful.
Thank you so much, Double Nil Test Channel, for your feedback. That's all the feedback that we have. There's no time left for me to stall any longer. And Holly, I'm so sorry that you're going to have to part with your books and all of your Funko Pop dolls.
No,
but we're giving them all away in our contest coming up right now. And what are we going to do? Jack's going to secure them for me, and he's going to mail them off for me here soon. We do want to thank everybody who participated in our contest. I actually went through this entire list in our Second Look podcast, so I'm not going to go through it here just for reasons of time constraint. But I am going to thank each of you again for leaving 3-word descriptions and for leaving written reviews. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of our community, for helping the podcast out to stay noticeable. It's very much appreciated. And Null Test Channel, just remember that you are part of this as well for your feedback on YouTube, because we had to include the double P in some way. And an emailer, TV Podcast Industries, that's Derek, who always sends me great funny emails whenever he sends them or responds to my not so funny emails. He always responds back in a funny way. But be sure to check out TV Podcast Industries wherever you get your podcasts as well. They are covering a series of great shows just like the Double P Podcast Network. And they're really good people over there. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to draw 3 names, and I have a little hat here. It has names in it. All of the names of all of the people. There were nearly 70 names that are in this little hat.
Oh, my God.
And I don't want to drop any of these names. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this camera, hopefully, if I can figure out how to work my camera here. Put my hat there. Can you see the hat?
I can see the hat.
You can see the hat?
Yes, I can see the hat.
All right. So my hand is in here, and I'm rummaging. The first name we're going to draw is an alternate. So if either of our runner-up prize winner or grand prize winner fails to respond back to us, they will fill in one place up. So the best you can do if you're the alternate is win our runner-up prize.
Wait. Why are you pulling the alternate first? It seems like you should pull the winner first.
I should pull the winner first. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull the winner first. The grand prize winner. What will the grand prize winner win, Holly?
They will win a copy of Lauren Balfe's Season 2 original soundtrack in the format of their choice, whether you want digital, vinyl, compact disc, laser disc. Just kidding. I don't think those exist anymore. You will also get a choice of a t-shirt from the official merch store. We're going to check our Twitter for the link, but it'll probably just be the HBO His Dark Materials merchandise, official merchandise. You can also win a Zoom meetup with me and Matthew, where he will try to give away my books, but I won't let him. But maybe I'll show them to you on the Zoom call. No. I see what you did here. You put all of my books. No, just kidding. Not my books. But a copy of Once Upon a Time in the North in paperback by Philip Pullman, and John Lawrence is the illustrator. And it just kind of is a little short story about Lee Scoresby when he was a little bit younger, and kind of gives you some more insight into him. It's a good little read.
That's a lot of info for Lee Scoresby. You want to find out how he met Yorick Bernardson, right? And that's a good little story to get you in on par with that. All right. Holly, can you see my hand? I've been rummaging this whole time.
I know.
And
just pick one already.
Is it making you nervous? Should I just pick one?
Yes, please pick one.
I have one in my hand right here.
Okay. I'm looking closer to read it. Sorry,
are you holding your computer completely up to your face? Because I think that's what it's going to take. Our winner. Can you read that?
No, it looks like Elvish language. from my screen.
Okay.
It looks like a lot of letters.
Okay, it is a lot of letters. It is Tomai Marion 6. Tomai Marion 6.
Congratulations.
Tomai Marion 6, you are our grand prize winner. You will win a t-shirt. You will win a Zoom call with me and Holly. You will win a copy of Lauren Balfe's Season 2 official soundtrack in the format of your choice, and the Once Upon a Time in the North book. All right, I'm taking this and I'm putting it over there. That's no longer in the issue. Now what we have to do, yay, Jack is waving. Jack is ready to draw. Jack is drawing now. He's telling Matt, stop rummaging. You're acting like me with a toy. Stop rummaging.
That one. He says that one.
That one right there? All right. Well, that is the one that I picked. And our runner-up, who will win a copy of Lauren Balfe's Season 2 official soundtrack in the format of their choice, and also a Zoom up with myself and Holly, is at Chris 1989 Gene. At Chris
Awesome.
1989 Gene. Can you see that at all? I don't know. Let's see.
I can't. It's blurry.
It's always blurry. Yeah. At Chris.
Yep. I see
19...
the at symbol, but it's blurry.
So we've definitely proven that we did not cheat. Oh, wait, I've got to draw a third name here. I've got to draw an alternate in case either of those two don't get back to us.
Our Chris, at Chris 1989 Jean or Jean, if you're from where I'm from, you get a copy of Lauren Balfe's. Did you say this already?
Yes,
you get a copy of. Oh, dang! I'm sorry. I was gonna do that again. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now I'm being awkward.
Okay, here is our alternate, and I have no idea how to say this Twitter name.
I can't read it, so spell it.
All right, it is HJSAMELI. HJS Samelli? HJS
HJ Samelli? I don't...
HJ Samelli, possibly. You are our alternate, so we will get in contact with you if any of the prizes become available. That is the conclusion of our contest, which clearly proved that we were not cheating, of course. We do look forward. We'll get in touch with you in terms of scheduling the Zoom meetup. You'll need to get with me about how to get you your stuff. If you want the soundtrack and like say on Amazon or what have you in MP3 format or from iTunes, just let me know. I think everybody here is on Twitter with us, so you can DM me. I'm following you, all of you. If not, send an email to dustpodcast@gmail.com. And congratulations to our winners. We thank you so much for sticking around and listening to my voice that long. We'll have a little bit more time to listen to my voice, just a little bit, as I read the feedback from Jonathan from Dragonfell UK to Holly in our book section. But otherwise, folks, once again, thank you so much for joining us for this Series 2 of His Dark Materials. We're looking forward to Series 3. We may stop in every once in a while with an update here or there between now and when Series 3 begins. So we hope to hear from you soon. Stay where you are. Stay subscribed. Keep following us on Twitter. Keep talking to us about this series. There's always more subjects to bring up. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. And we'll see you next time on
The Dust Podcast.
Tweet the podcast at The Dust Podcast. Send emails to dustpodcast@gmail.com or call 314-269-0421. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.
So you're a book reader, correct? No? You just want to find out more stuff about the books without really having read the books. I mean, okay. The only thing that we're not really okay with is if you don't want to be spoiled and you're still here because you thought we might say, something clever here and not just tell you to go away because we don't want to spoil you. Either way, we're going to book spoilers here in 3, 2, 1. This comes from @Dragonfell UK. It was the part of his message that I could not include in our second look podcast of Asa Hetra last week because I wanted to save this for you, Holly, because, again, it talks about things that I am unaware of, that I like to fake that I know about, but I really don't know anything about. @Dragonfell UK says this: reflecting at the end of the season, my feelings on Lyra and Pan's relationship considering Secret Commonwealth, I still feel there are hints of what is to come in the early episodes, mainly in episodes 1 and 2, but with a glimpse in episode 4 as well. The idea of Lyra suffering from depression at the start makes sense given what she'd gone through over season 1. The hints go away as she's pulled back by having a focus, getting the knife, and then the alethiometer back, and her relationship with Will. So, this has been the thing that we've been trying to pinpoint with Dragonfell UK all season long. Are there hints of Lyra's depression in the episodes and kind of foreshadowings of the differences that will develop between Pan and Lyra?
Yes and no, and I don't think I ever really disagreed with Dragonfell. I think those hints, I don't know if they were put there on purpose to hint towards Secret Commonwealth or if they just kind of works out that way that it does. And I started reading the Secret Commonwealth right before the series started, and I don't remember. I got about like halfway, and then life got busy. But yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely say that is a little bit of foreshadowing, the kind of stuff between Pan and Lyra. The main differences for me is that they're both different characters and right now than they will be by the time we get to Secret Commonwealth. Lyra still has her imagination. She still has that childlike wonder where she can believe a lot of things, and she just becomes such a skeptic by the Secret Commonwealth that's kind of where their fighting begins. But it's interesting that Pan seems to be the more cautious one right now when they're younger, and then as they age, they kind of flip roles a little bit there. So that's kind of all I really have to say about it. Yeah, I think it's there if they want to build on it. I think my question is, why haven't we been introduced to, why weren't we, if they want to continue this series later, why didn't we get introduced to Alice in season 1, at Jordan College? Or they could have even thrown in Malcolm as like one of her professors. I don't know, or just somebody that was around. They could have name dropped these characters that don't really appear in the first trilogy, but are huge importance. We don't even get Hannah Ralph, who is mentioned in the first original trilogy and is an important character in the second trilogy, and she's not even mentioned at all. And I think she's supposed to be at that dinner where Lyra meets Mrs. Coulter back in season 1. And, Lyra is really bored with her because she's like a boring scholar lady, where Mrs. Coulter is just like beautiful and intelligent and witty and not boring. And now thinking back, I kind of wish they would put Hannah Ralph in it. It would have been a nice contrast to see maybe they didn't do it because they wanted Mrs. Coulter being a scholar to be a very rare thing. And maybe having Hannah Ralph in there would have muddied those waters a little bit. But it is important in the first book that Lyra sees a distinct difference between the two women who are both scholars and women scholars. And one is she is bored with, but the one she's bored with is like the one that she should be the most interested in because she's really smart and cares about Lyra versus her own mother, who does what Mrs. Coulter does, as we all know.
Folks, if you want to be contacted by Holly so that she can personally give you her books, since they didn't end up in the contest, how do they do that, Holly? How do they contact you to beg you for your books?
Okay, well, I will sell my books at $1,000 a piece, and you can find me at Hunt Pants on Twitter. I'm very broke, but I will put a price on those books in order to survive. So, the going rate is 1,000 per book, no special deal. You get 3,000 for all three, and that's how you get my books.
Wow. That's like we give you $1,000. You give us a free book. What a deal!
You just give Holly $1,000. Holly's not going to share with Matt.
No, Holly, you don't understand. That goes towards all of our fees for hosting and all of that other stuff.
No, Bubba's got that. Bubba's got that.
But he's sending you a bill, and
No,
so
he's
that'll be
not.
on top of your other bills.
He better send dinner with that bill.
And if you want to find me, you can find me at Musical Concepts. We'll see you next time on
The Dust Bowl.